of the mind influencing the emotional and mental aspects of health webinar that is being hosted this afternoon by yours truly, Ginny Almighty, also known as Ginny Gunther, and also our very own Dr. Carolyn Dean, who has such a rich history of so many different aspects of healing the body. That we've focused a lot on natural alternatives to drugs and surgery, but we do not want to make the mistake of overlooking the power of the mind, because it is a big player in human health, well-being, and vitality, and just your outlook and expectation. So we're bringing her in this afternoon to spend some time with us and have her share from her own experience some of the things that make the most sense to her. This is not exhaustive by any stretch. And if your favorite technique or your favorite aspect isn't on the list, please don't be offended. It's just what Dr. Dean likes and what she's written about, and what she likes to share with people as a way of alleviating the stress in their minds, and also the possible conflicts that exist that may be making them not feel as great as they could be feeling. Before I bring Dr. Dean on, I just want to remind everybody that Dr. Dean is a medical doctor, and she is also a naturopath. She has over 40 years of experience in medicine, both again in allopathic medicine, working in hospitals, working with other doctors, working with nurses and clinicians, and then also as a naturopath. And she has written so many books, as we all know, The Magnesium Miracle being the most well-known, but so many others. And she is an author, she's a lecturer, she's a speaker, she's an advocate for health freedom, and has done a tremendous job of encouraging many, many people to take control of their bodies and their minds in order for them to thrive and be successful. So we welcome her this afternoon. Thank you again for joining us today, Dr. Dean.
Thank you, Ginny. Great to be here. And we thank Chad, who's running the seminar webinar for us. And the first slide that we're looking at is how most people don't meet their goals. And Chad will bring that up for us. And that's I don't know if it's Sisyphus going up the mountain, but someone's trying to push that rock up the mountain, and that's what it feels like to some people, where they're being told a number of things they have to do for their health, but all they can think of is survival. People are just trying to survive. Now, when we talk about the physical aspects of how to survive, of course, we're looking at our complement formulas and offering those as ways to get your body in gear so that you can survive. But as Ginny says, we cannot leave out the mind. And instead of having a labyrinth for the processing of your mind, we want it to be very clear. Mostly why I think the mind can be sometimes working against you, and how we can make it work for you. This business of survival, I'll go into it in the next slide. And these slides are just the topic that I'm covering in the next few minutes. But total biology is a system of medicine. It was discovered by a French doctor, and it is related to German New Medicine. So you might hear about it as German New Medicine or total biology. And they study the brain conflict that creates disease in the body, where disease is the brain's best solution to keep the person alive. They say for another day, but keep the person alive as long as possible. So what we have in that one statement about the brain is creating a disease in the body to be a solution. So instead of disease working against a person and being a horrible thing and, oh my goodness, what is my body doing to me? If we can shift that a bit and say, oh, what's going on in my life that's a conflict that I'm putting in my body in trying to solve that conflict. And total biology doesn't use the term disease even, but it calls what happens to us a biological program. And again, it's the body's prime directive in surviving. So what I know about total biology, and I'll make it real personal as an example, recently with the FDA calling upon us to shift the way we advertise or promote our products from talking about disease to just talking about health. When it first happened, I got a sore throat. And it wasn't really a cold or anything. It was just a sore throat because I could no longer speak my truth. And it didn't last very long. And I realized pretty quickly what it was. And it's just illuminating when you can see the conflict in your world translating itself into your body. And what the biology is trying to do is create more cells in my throat so that I'll be able to speak easier. I mean, it doesn't work that way. You get a sore throat and you can't speak, but it's a relationship that your body has to your mind. And when there's too much going on in the mind, when the mind keeps wanting to solve what a person might consider an unsolvable problem, then it will put some association into your body. I mean, the next thing that happened was my knees started to hurt. And knees in total biology are bending in submission. So it's like, was I going to submit to the FDA? Now, in the beginning of such an interaction with a government body, you have to, back off and check the lay of the land and then see what you're going to do. And we're certainly doing all those things, and we'll be able to balance things out quite nicely. But in the meantime, I had this few days of knee pain because I didn't want to bend. And same thing, a couple days after that, my feet hurt. It's like, how am I going to move forward? And, something is impeding my forward movement. And because all those things are gone now, I know my mind has sorted things out, and I am moving forward. But look at what I'm saying here about how your body is brilliant. It knows what's intimately going on. It wants to help you find a solution. And you should, instead of, I guess I would say, running to a doctor with a sore throat and getting an antibiotic, or going to the doctor or chiropractor and saying, fix me, stop a minute and figure out, well, what is it that my body's trying to tell me? It's your best friend, and it's good to work with your body. In the gift page after the webinar, we'll be giving you a number of gifts, and I'm just saying this to Ginny and Chad for the first time. I think we should put a list of the books that I recommend that are related to total biology, although they're not specifically total biology, and put a link to the affirmations that we use in total biology to help a person break the link with illness and grief, for example, kind of break the way we seem to trap ourselves into a cycle of illness and grief, because we don't realize we have control over our body. We are in ultimate control. And that information will help you gain more words about this. I'll go over to Ginny now so she can have some input about her experience with total biology. And then afterward, I'll go through techniques to help a person balance out their conflict and their stress and work with it. So, Ginny, jump in here and tell us what you feel about total biology.
Well, one thing I'll say, Carolyn, is I never even heard of it until I started hanging out with you. So it was a great, what I had heard of was Louise Hay and, how to heal your life, right? And she's got a lot of affirmations for different body parts and if you're feeling this, if you're feeling that, and so on and so forth. But total biology is way beyond that level of body-mind connection and the sophistication of it too. And of course, it deals with a lot of very threatening diseases where people would mostly think that, you would never attempt to treat something like the C word with a mind technology, but it has helped a lot of people. Now, personally, I went to a total body practitioner that you recommended last year, and I was really hung up. And of course, this is what you always say in your presentation, and we've talked about on the radio show, is biologically, once everything's accurate, then where do you go? You have to go to the mind and the emotions. So if you're getting your REMAG, you're getting your REMITE, you're getting all your protein, you have a good diet, you've eliminated wheat, sugar, and dairy, you're not pushing caffeine, alcohol. Well, these were all the things the changes that I had made. And I started having this weirdo symptom, and I had to go to talk to somebody about what was going on and what the emotional conflict was in my mind. And so I did go to Dr. David Holt, who you've recommended before, and it was exceptional. And he did work the total biology magic with me, and we did exercises and different things, and it really helped me out. And I'm not saying the symptoms went away overnight, because they did not, but I got a really good idea about what was kind of creating them, where the conflict was, and then how to start to affirm, to myself and my mind that, it wasn't really a conflict after all, and these kinds of things. So I think there's a lot of validity to it. I know a lot over the years, as I've said, we have recommended these different methods. And it's fun too, I think, on the radio show when people have called in and they've got something like a thyroid is one, where like one gal in particular called in, and she was having all of a sudden out of the clear blue sky, massive problem with her thyroid. And you're like, well, what all of a sudden in the clear blue sky is, happening that, and she said, well, all of a sudden out of the clear blue sky, her father started to die, like an accelerated 6-week diagnosis type of thing. And you said, well, the thyroid is about time, and here you are trying to slow down time, and your thyroid has slowed down. So you have more time with your dad, and she just got it immediately, and it shifted everything in her body. So, I think there's tremendous value in the total biology. We've had a lot of people also do the affirmations that you've suggested. And can you just say the small property? Because when you say it with your beautiful voice, it just sounds so precious and soothing.
Oh, that's sweet. Okay, it'll take me 2 seconds to find it. Here we go. I was a small property ravaged by a storm. The fine weather has returned. The forest and the river have become calm. The house is vibrant and shines in the sun. And above all, the field is returning to its order, health, and beauty. Thank you, my diseased and depleted organs, for I know you have done all this to save my whole being. And thanks to myself for doing my healing.
Yeah, that's just so beautiful. That's so beautiful. And it is true. It's how people feel after their bodies have been ravaged by some storm. And it's hard to imagine, especially when you don't feel great, that your mind actually thinks that it's doing you a favor. But it really is, Carolyn, right? I mean, it's keeping you alive. That's its kind of strategy, as you've talked about, for survival.
Yes, and I think with modern medicine, we've gotten to the point where medicine and so-called science thinks that it knows better than the body, and that it can implement what turns out now to be very toxic chemicals to create shifts in our body. And we're just realizing, I think someone said to me, drugs have only been around for 140 years. And we're finding out they certainly aren't the answer to health problems. If we want to maintain our health, there are.
Carolyn, did we lose you? I think we lost you.
Do you hear me now?
I do. Thank you.
Yeah, things just, they flipped out. So what I was saying is, yes, with modern medicine now, instead of revering the body and what it can do, we think we know better than the body, and we give it drugs and try to manipulate it. But drugs have only been around for 140 years, and we're finding out more and more how much they're negatively affecting us. So shall I move on to the next slide, Ginny?
Yes, please. That would be great.
Okay, it's called placebo power. Now, what these next maybe 5 or 6 slides are is techniques that help you decrease stress and lessen conflict. I already mentioned that. And, you don't necessarily have to use them. If you get the total biology concept, if you see, a body symptom in being caused by a conflict and you deal with the conflict, then you're fine. That along with our formulas, you've got your mind and body balanced. But there's other information that will help you. And what we know about placebo power is, in Latin, for example, placebo means I shall please. And think that whatever you are doing is the very best thing for you. That will enhance your placebo effect. One of the gift modules you'll be getting is on placebo power, but I'll go over a few things. Big Pharma actually proves placebos work because they more so in the past than now, they test drugs against a placebo. So they give a fake pill to their patients and see if the disease condition improves with the placebo or with the drug. When it came to the point that 60 to 80% improvement was occurring with placebo and only about 40% with the drug, they changed their strategy and now they test drugs against drugs. So it's become it used to be a bit of a joke that, I can just give a placebo to someone, they'll feel better. Isn't that funny? And then it became a problem for medicine to work with placebos. And what we say to people is that it just proves that the more positive you think, the more focused you are on positive health, etc., the healthier you will be. However, it doesn't overcome not eating properly, etc. If you're not eating the most nutrient-dense food and you're not chewing your food thoroughly, then all those things factor into thinking positively. Because if you eat good food and it makes you feel good, then you're able to continue your quote positive thinking. So it's I know I'm kind of stumbling around this because there's just so much to say. So I'll ask Ginny, what is your concept of placebo power?
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. You know what? I'm glad you said that what you said about the expectation of what you're doing for you is the best possible thing is going to elevate your result. And so even like if they're going into a test study and they don't know what they're getting, per se, but they're just there at the doctor's office thinking that somebody's going to help them, that in and of itself can make a difference. And I've seen that with a lot of different things, and I think it's excellent that you can embrace something and really use it to your benefit. And one thing that you say, Carolyn, a lot of times though, is there's a biological reality to, like, say, magnesium and minerals accomplished by the mind. I mean, you can't think your way into magnesium sufficiency. You have to become magnesium sufficient, so you're not doing it to get rid of you're not doing it to get rid of a certain type of a kind of a deficiency. You're doing it to accelerate your body's healing and your receptivity, I think, is what you're doing when you're using something that's appropriate.
Right. And we've heard from many customers over the years when they get their body in balance physically with the nutrients that they take, their affirmations work better, their energy medicine works better, even their saunas work better, because they have the structure to that is fortified enough to make these things work. So yeah, they go hand in hand. And it is frustrating when you'll get practitioners in a certain modality say, this is all you need. And I know I say that about magnesium, but I say it's the first thing you need. And from there, you've got your ground, and then you add other things. And that's what we're doing with this webinar. And I'll go to the next slide, which is negating the nocebo. So when placebos got such airplay over the years, then people started looking at the opposite. Nocebo means I will harm. It's the evil twin of the placebo. So if you are saying, I can't stand that person, and your feet hurt, you have to think about your words. If you say, my brother is a pain in the neck, while you're rubbing your tight neck muscles, you have to think about your words. Or if you say, I'm always late, then maybe you will always be late. Or if you say, I can't stomach what they did to me at work, then your indigestion, heartburn can be a result of that talking, that negative talking. So it's negative talk, negative thinking. And what you do is you just catch yourself saying it. I do that often on the radio, where someone will do some negative talk, and I'll remind them of their words. It can become such a habit. Or, when someone says this will never work, or I don't believe the doctors will help me. I mean, all those things become beliefs because you say them so often. So you put your negative spin on something, and you talk yourself right into a nocebo corner. You're arguing for your limitations, and you limit your possibilities for being healthy. And you're gathering evidence and reasons for staying unwell. And even when you're looking at the media, this is why I don't watch TV and avoid the advertising, because in order to sell their products, TV advertising has to convince you that you're sick or out of style or generally missing something that you must rush out and buy immediately. So the TV drug ads, for example, are incredibly successful, and they have people demanding that their doctors prescribe the latest miracle drug. And these ads are constantly saying that you're sick if you have gas, bloating, sadness, shyness, headaches, PMS, restless legs, and all these constant warnings undermines your confidence and makes you feel less than you really are. I especially abhor the ads for cancer treatment. Ads for cancer, I say they are. They put your mind in the cancer framework. Instead of never giving cancer a thought, you now have it on your mind. You begin to wonder, when will I get cancer? So just to remind you, the negation of placebo effect is the nocebo. And actually, it does remind me of a recent study they did on statins, where they are trying to say to patients now that if you're having statin side effects, it's all in your mind. They don't say nocebo, but they say it's your negative thinking about statins that you've picked up from the media that's giving you your statin side effects. And this is just criminal.
Oh my God, that's horrible. That
Yep.
is hideous.
Yep. Yep.
That is so manipulative and disgusting. I can't even stand it.
I know.
Oh my gosh. People who really have an awareness of statins and what they do don't put them in their mouths. So the idea that, you know, you're getting a bad effect from the statins because of what it says on the TV, no way. You're getting a bad effect from statins because of biologically what the response is to the drug in your body.
Yeah.
That's nuts. Oh my gosh. So gross.
It's so gross. I'll jump to theater of the mind now, and this is it's a big module, but you can imagine what it is just by the title, and it comes from a book called Psychocybernetics by Dr. Maxwell, and just real quickly running through the procedure, you visualize yourself walking into a movie theater, and then you visualize a successful effort you have made in the past and the benefits you've reaped. If you've overcome health challenges or have otherwise stuck to a health program, these would be relevant and powerful examples. Now you visualize yourself thinking and acting in a way to achieve a particular health goal. You see yourself performing those actions with all 5 senses, and you visualize as many details as you can. You feel yourself doing those actions with joy, contentment, and determination. And you keep visualizing the immediate results. You visualize the secondary benefits of your health goal. And at the end of it, you can lie or sit there meditating or praying in silence and just really absorb what you've experienced. And some people are really good at visualizing. Some people that it's more auditory for them, so they would be listening to their words in this movie. So I mean, it's a basic method of almost self-hypnosis, actually, where you're giving yourself new stories. So over to you, Ginny.
I like the new story part, Carolyn, because honestly, some people do become their stories. And we hear this in customer service a lot, where they want to tell you the story of how they got injured, sick, or how long they suffered with a particular condition. And they really, now, I remember in the beginning when I first started doing customer service, and you told me that the reason why people tell their stories is because they have not been fully heard. And you said if you really hear a person, you really listen and you really hear them, the chances of them having to tell that story is very unlikely. But you said sometimes people live with a spouse or a family member, and they'll talk about how they don't feel well or what challenges they're having health-wise, and their spouse or their family members just won't support them and or even acknowledge that it's really a problem, or just, oh, you're a hypochondriac or this or that. So I think you're right about, you have to retrain your mind. You have to come up with the new story. And if it's the theater of the mind where they're visualizing it, like you said, or, you know, maybe it's like you said, the auditory part where people say it out loud, or maybe they even pray it. Or, you know, like literally, what if they wrote a new story? Yes. Like they wrote the story, you know, this is how I'm going to introduce myself from now on in. And who would they be without their disease? Who would they be without their condition? I mean, we have had customers call us who say they've been struggling with the same condition for 40 years, Carolyn. How could that be? Right?
Exactly. And yeah, they identify themselves as their disease instead of the person that they seem to want to be. And they don't realize they're stuck in their story. And until it's recognized, and that's where our customer service is great, and where we recognize people where they come from, but then we do give everybody all the same products. You know, we don't have 100 products and mix and match. We know that it's the building blocks to make your body strong. And then as you're feeling positive results, you're more able to change your story.
Right. Yeah, that's a good question about who would they be without their story, or could they be? I mean, where does this thing come in? Where maybe even an illness is this a setup that their mind is creating to prevent them from accomplishing something that they're afraid they wouldn't accomplish, so they have an excuse for it. You know what I mean?
Right. Yes. Holding themselves back.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the theater of the mind. The next is walking, meditation, and prayer. And this is very basic. And I love this slide with the little puppy dog. It's just so adorable. And with meditation and prayer, you'll hear comments from both ends of the spectrum that meditation and prayer are the same, or that they are completely different. In the final analysis, I think it's up to you. If you're an atheist and you meditate, you're going to just clear your mind of obsessive gramophone thoughts, allowing it to take a break. If you believe in a higher power, then your focus is probably on that higher power when you meditate or pray. If you believe that you're the center of your universe and you create your reality, which is what I believe, your prayers and meditation will evoke what you want your universe to be. And I just think prayer and meditation are interchangeable. I do walking meditation. I cannot sit still long enough to do sitting meditation. And I talk about puttering meditation, where some moms have told me they do their chores while practicing a form of walking meditation. The cleaning, folding, washing, tidying all gets done. It's almost reflexive, but they do it in a relaxed, almost trance-like state. So you can be meditating and praying in whatever task you're doing. And, I want to jump over to Ginny right away, because, that's your, or used to be your world, prayer and meditation.
Well, and I think, there's so many different facets to prayer and meditation. Meditation, of course, the thing that I always got hung up on in the beginning was thinking that I had to be like a yogi. You had to have this really deep, serious, intentional kind of, and I would go to these meditation classes, and they would always talk about, pretend your thoughts are like clouds and they're floating over the top of your head, and then try to see them going one by one so that you can, clear your mind. And all I would do was think about why I couldn't get rid of the clouds. It's so frustrating to me. So, I never succeeded at that. And then I just realized that the whole point of meditation was really, actually, I realized this through the Quaker religion, called the Clearing Committee. And what they do is they sit 3 people in a room with you, and you are able to speak the full counsel of your whole issue or problem without any editing. And then they take notes and they read the notes back to you to tell you what you said. And it's a way for you to become really aware of what's really bothering you, because when you read the things back, it'd be like, well, do you realize you said in this that you hate the color red, and you said it 7 times? It'd be like, did I say that? And then all of a sudden it's like, wow, here's this new awareness of myself. So when I saw a clearness committee in work, in process, I was like, okay, maybe the thing I just need to do is start to speak out loud and listen for my own revelations. And that's kind of what I started to do, which went to the prayer and walking prayer. And that's what I do every day still. And Carolyn has been to my home and done walking times with me. I don't think we were praying, but you are praying, I think, in a sense, when you're talking or meditating on the desires of your heart. That's what the Bible says. It says to seek the Lord with all your heart, and you will achieve the desires of your heart. And I think that's really what we're doing when we're meditating and praying, is we're desiring certain outcomes, certain beneficial things that we want to acquire. and especially in health, and also gratitude, because it's so important to be grateful for what the body's already doing. And when you're sick, you have a tendency to focus on what it's not doing well. And you really have to, focus on what it's doing right, because it's doing a lot of really good stuff.
Yeah, very good. Perfect. Perfect words. Okay, we're going on to Ho'oponopono. And we put out a blog recently, and we had a lot of positive response about this Hawaiian blessing. It's an ancient Hawaiian blessing to make it right with your ancestors or with the people with whom you have relationships. It's since been called many things, such as prayer for forgiveness, reconciliation, taking responsibility, releasing resistance, removing blocks, improving energy flow. And I took a seminar in Ho'oponopono with one of the people who made it public, Dr. Hugh Lin, and he was a therapist, psychiatrist, or psychologist in a hospital setting. And instead of sitting with patients, he sat with their charts and their names and simply prayed this prayer: I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. Over and over again. And that expresses either to yourself, I love myself. I'm sorry that I haven't lived up to my own expectations. Please forgive me for not putting myself forth. And thank you for allowing me to have these words with myself or with whoever. It's a wonderful prayer. I used to get hung up about, well, why should I be sorry? I've got nothing to be sorry about. But it's like, the sorrow that, you can't communicate with someone, or that you aren't able to reach them to be able to smooth things. When we send out the Ho'oponopono blog, someone emailed that they've added to it to place they said your left hand over your heart, but that's kind of awkward, but maybe it's a left-handed person, but they say place your left hand over your heart or central, and your right hand over the left while you're saying the prayer. And I guess that focuses on your actual physical heart. So it's an incredibly responsible prayer. It's you taking responsibility for everything and everyone. And it might be too much of a burden for some people, but it's a very sweet prayer. In the module that you'll get, I talk about a friend of mine whose daughter-in-law and son, the grandmother thought that the grandchildren weren't being treated 100% perfectly like a grandmother would like, and I offered her the prayer, and she said it did help give her not so much a detachment. What it did, it gave her an involvement where she felt she was more involved with positively praying for her daughter-in-law. So it's I'd like Ginny to talk to me about what you think of this prayer and your experience.
Well, I have to tell you that I use this prayer with my dog, Baby, and I think it's really helping her. When she was on a leash with me on a country road where I live, a young kid comes swinging around the corner way too fast, and he just smashed her. And at very first, I wasn't sure, if she was going to be okay, but she's doing beautifully. But I say the prayer to her all the time because I feel so bad for what happened to her. And she was with me on a leash. I feel bad for what happened to her. I don't know that I feel quote unquote guilty per se, because I quote unquote didn't do it, but then she was with me and she's my dog and I was supposed to protect her. That's why she's on a leash in the first place. You know, this is what they're always harping about. Keep your pets safe, keep them on a leash. Well, I've got her on a leash and she was not safe. So I just did the Ho'oponopono prayer with her ever since she got back from the hospital. And I think it's really helping. And she looks at me very lovingly when I say it. So I think it works for everybody, you know, because we don't really know what our full culpable responsibility in this universe is. I mean, do we, any of us really, you know, we're all connected, right, by this weird thing called non-physical, and we really don't know, you know, where that connection begins and ends. So I think it's a very good clearing for people and circumstances where you're not really certain, is there something I've done, you know, quote unquote wrong. It's not that you've done something wrong. It's just, is there something left I need to say to make this right? So I think it's absolutely beautiful.
Yes, very good. Okay, the next topic is emotional freedom technique. And this is a healing technique created by Gary Craig. And Gary says that anyone can do it and you can try it on anything. Gary's website is emofree.com. For decades, he's been giving out this information for free so that people can learn about it and learn to do it. It's based on the principles of acupuncture. It helps to bring balance into your energy system and into your body, mind, and spirit. The basic premise is that anything that is showing up as physical or emotional distress in your body is a result of a disruption in your body's energy system. To ease this disruption, you simply use your fingertips to tap on specific acupuncture points. You will find these points in the EFT module. That's one of your gifts. And this particular module is written by my sister, Christine Wheeler, who's a certified EFT practitioner. And she goes over the points and how to phrase the problem you want to work on. The wording is very helpful. So I really can't go into all the details of it because it's something you have to learn about. But I know it's very helpful for a lot of people. And yet I know about all these techniques that I'm talking about. Obviously, I've researched them. I've written about them. I probably practiced them. But it was not until I started using my own completement formulas that my body felt easy enough for things to work and stay worked. It's very difficult to describe unless you've been there, unless you're taking the products and you know how sturdy and strong you want your body to be, and then it will hold the technique. Ginny said it already a couple of times that we can't expect all these tools and techniques and, if you will, band-aids to cure a person if they have an underlying magnesium deficiency. Magnesium is what will cure a magnesium deficiency. And then all these other things will be helpful to you for the ongoing daily stress and conflict that humans are involved in. So over to you, Ginny, about EFT. I'm sure you were aware of it before this, correct?
Oh, yes. We used to use the EFT a lot when I did large group awareness training and in my time as a pastor. And I think it's very beneficial. I mean, it is a way for people to really isolate things that are going wrong with them and to use the wisdom of acupuncture in a very localized manner. And I do think people get intermediate relief from it. And certainly clearing out habits, habits like people who want to quit smoking, or, adding a habit. Like one thing that I like about Dr. Holt, he uses a lot of EFT to actually install new empowering beliefs. and
Yeah.
cancel out old ones. So I think it's very positive. And a lot of people on the chat line on the webinar are saying, yes, I do use EFT. It truly works for me.
Mhm.
They're having great success with it. Yeah, I think EFT is fantastic.
And it does work on the acupuncture meridians. It talks about energy, and you got to realize that you need your electrolytes and you need to be hydrated for your energy to flow in a balanced way. So mind, body, spirit, will always be working with all three. And pretty much the last slide is about ion. And ion is a representation of non-physical. And this encourages us to be, to know, and to have everything we could possibly want, and to be strong enough, big enough, capable enough to achieve everything we want. And for me, total biology and ion are like the bread of the sandwich with all the tools in between. Ion is very important in terms of my world to let me know how powerful I am, and that anything that makes me feel less than or not as powerful or not as all-knowing, I should turn away from, and just know that I can solve anything, I can be anything, be, do, and have anything I want. It's a departure from a lot of my modules and a lot of my blogs where I just talk about the facts, because it's a challenge to even write about it. It's kind of personal. It's not really a religion, but it's kind of close to that. But it's information that I think is definitely worth sharing, and it kind of proves that I'm on the leading edge, I think, because I'm looking at this as an opportunity to learn more. But I do want to go over to Ginny, because Ginny's had a lot of experience with ion as well, and I'd love to hear what you have to say about it.
Well, my introduction to ion came in June of 2010, and it was when I was in a transitional position. I had, worked as an ordained pastor and done outreach ministry for many years. I was very devoted to my quote unquote faith. But I was also very unsatisfied in that, because I did not see things happening according to the way I felt they should occur. And I got, when you dedicate so much of your time to a single pursuit and you give it everything you have and you don't get the results that you want, you have to start evaluating, what am I doing wrong, or what's going on that this is not turning out the way that I wanted it to. And I did a lot of evaluation and self-reflection for several years before making a decision that I was not going to continue to pursue that type of aggressive ministry in that way anymore. And I started to just look and say, okay, there's got to be something else. And I remember in about the year 2000, sitting at my computer, I had just gotten on the internet. I was corresponding with the ministry that was around the world, in a different part of the world. They were actually in South Africa. And I had pushed a button and sent a message, and then they had responded to me in like 5 minutes with a response. And I was like, okay, I think we're in a little bit of trouble here, Christian people, because I can send an email and get a response in 5 minutes, but I can make a prayer and I can't get a response ever. And I was like, there has to be some kind of a spiritual technology. There has to be a super highway to advanced spirituality, or, what now I come to, believe or call, for lack of better words, ascension. And that is just an acceleration in your spiritual awareness of the totality of your beingness. Ion says that we live in a force field of love, that we are that love, that when we say God is love, well, we are the love that God is. and that everything that we've ever experienced is recorded in this force field, and we have access to that information all the time. And that basically any kind of a disease or any kind of lack or less than-ness is just a disconnection from the information that empowers you to be more. And so when ION talked about the our product, the RNA drops, which they spoke about to me, I think as one of the first people, because of my role as a pastor and knowing my desire to see so many people be liberated from limiting beliefs and liberated from limiting situations. They told me that chromosome 14 was like the cross of Christ, that it was in every cell, and it was a significant chromosome for actually activating a more perfect cellular replication. And these are all, again, spiritual references. These aren't medical claims or anything like that. And we do have to tread lightly with ION's information, because all we can do to prove it is to live our own lives with it. That's all we can do. So, I've taken the RNA drops for years. My family's taken them for years. I've listened to ION for years, and I've prospered. I've learned so much about myself. And one of the things that ION said to me in the beginning was, faith is self-image. And I was like, faith is self-image? Well, what does that mean? And they said, well, you make all your choices from your self-image, every choice you make. And so basically, if you read Hebrews 11, which is the big faith chapter in the Bible, you'll see that the people who did what they did in the Bible, accomplished the facts, the things that they accomplished, because their image was such that they saw themselves as being able to do it. And so for me, that was a big game changer when they said faith is self-image. And that's what I started to work on. What was my image of myself in relationship to everything, in relationship to money, in relationship to my body, my friends, my power, what I could? Can I be the cause and effect of something? That's what people ultimately think God is cause and effect. And I was listening to somebody speak about this a couple days ago, and they said, the more scientifically advanced we become, and the more technologically competent we become, we start to see that things that were attributed to, quote unquote, God are just biology, or they're just, technology, or they're just chemistry. So where is my actual source of my power, and what am I able to accomplish, and what can I do with my will and my desire and my vision? And it's been awesome to me. But I know for one thing that ION has said expressly and specifically is, every single thing that you have going on in your world is something that you're creating. Whether you're aware of how it's being created or not, it's still your creation. And the more you can own that, and then the more you can channel yourself, your energies to upgrade the way you're accomplishing something, upgrade. Like maybe sometimes people don't have a lot of money because they're afraid of money. They think it makes you evil or something like that. And then if you clear up those beliefs, then the money starts to flow more easily. So for me, ION has been an incredible exercise of releasing limiting beliefs in the mind and taking responsibility for myself and my world, and knowing that at the core of everything, I am the love that I desired, that I was looking for, and I already have everything that I really need within myself.
Wow. That's fantastic. We need the yay button.
That's right. Yay!
That was brilliant. And well, all through the webinar, I mean, you're a master at these things, and thank you so much. And this is our last slide is just the list of the various things we've talked about. And I know we haven't left many minutes for questions, but we can go over a few minutes if there are questions. And Ginny will go to the chat now and see if there are any. So we'll do questions, and then our last slide will show you where the YouTube is going to be. Is that right, Ginny?
I think it's where the YouTube is, and then also where the free gifts are. I think Chad said, because all the modules
Right.
that we've gone over, we're going to provide to everybody. Now,
Yeah.
say, Carolyn, that we might not have any questions, but I have to tell you what Sue Johnson's testimonial was, because she rang it in about 15 minutes into the webinar, and I just wanted to wet my panties. She said, I just ran the Pikes Peak Ascent last Saturday in 82-degree weather and 14,000 feet elevation. I attribute my total success to being on the Total Body Reset since last November. I love you, Dr. Dean and Ginny. Isn't that?
Yeah, that's fantastic. Way to go, Sue. Way to go.
Yeah, that was so wonderful. That was so wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, we've got great, we've got people who are in, all levels and degrees, but that's what our products, and that was Ion who came up with that. Perfect nutrition for every body at every level of wellness and, well, they said illness, and Carolyn didn't like it, so she got rid of the illness part. But, we've got people running up Pikes Peak, and we've got people who are, have really struggled for years, and everybody in between. We have kids on the formulas. We have obviously pets. My little girl, Mama? Yeah, she's doing so good. She's sitting right here listening to the whole thing. She approves of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got pets. I mean, we have everybody using the products, and just know that, biologically, when you're set and you're secure and you're doing what, Dr. Dean has recommended with the formulas, and also, proper whole food, good food, nutritious food, that kind of thing. Then you get to go to the mind and also to the emotional conflicts and consider what might be going on there that might be delaying your healing, because the body can heal pretty quick, Carolyn?
Oh, absolutely. And you look at the world too. You look at what they used to say about California, and the drought was just going to create a dust bowl of mammoth proportions, and everybody might as well just move out of California. 2 months of rain and it's the opposite. And we see that all the time when we leave nature to do what it has to do. The same thing happens with river cleanups. They think, oh, this river will never be cleaned up. So it's the same with our bodies. And our philosophy is we don't start by saying, look, you're apathetic, you're not sleeping, you're obviously depressed, take these medications. No, we say you're nutrient deficient, take these nutrients. And then if there's anything left over, let's clear that up with discussing the total biology or the Ion concept. Let's give you a little information about why your brain may need some support and some positive words. So it's very doable, what we're talking about here. We always go back to the basics of the basic groundwork nutrients of your body, and the basic knowledge that you can do anything that you put your mind to.
Very good. Now, Claire's asking, where would we find the basic introduction? Here's a question. How do we find a basic introduction or beginning point to the teachings of Ion? On Achieve Radio, I find bits and pieces, but I feel I'm jumping in the middle of a conversation.
Well, in the Ion module, Ginny, I don't know if you had a chance to look at it. I've got all the clips that you sent me in the beginning. I've got a lot of very basic information in that module.
Okay.
It's just a click away.
Okay, very good. So it's in the module, and I have an old school website called 2012 RNA Radio. And you can go back and listen to the early Ebb and Ray radio shows where Eben and Bob and Ion were on together in Los Angeles for 2 hours at a time. And it's very basic, but that's basic Ion. I don't know. Carolyn, did Ion really have like teachings, or don't you think they just came and gave us a big push?
It was just a push. It's been the same message all along. And we kept trying to define it, Bob especially, well, tell us exactly what to do. We want steps, and they never really would give that, because everybody's different. Everybody goes at their own pace, and you, Claire, you do dive in where you can and glean what you can. But like we said, the basics are in the module.
Very good. Excellent. Excellent. Well, we're so grateful that everybody was with us on this Friday afternoon. And I know lots and lots of people that want to download when they get home from work and this and that. And you're with us in spirit too. And we're just so grateful for all of our customers. And they just feel like good friends who hang out with us. And, we're just all on this journey together. Everybody's doing, as Carolyn said, the best you can do. You're doing it at your pace. You're using the products that you can use, that you find value in. And we've got Dr. Dean here as our champion and fearless leader, running us up the mountain. You're the one with the big ball, Carolyn.
I know. And isn't that awesome that Sue ran up that mountain under the power of the products? It's very perfect. Thank you, Sue.
Yes, that was very, very wonderful. Okay, well, listen, you guys, so happy that you're here. And if you have any questions, go ahead and you can shoot them to, if you missed the webinar and you're coming in late, just shoot your questions to support, SUPPORT at RNAreset.com, and we will run them up the flagpole to Dr. Dean. And we have had to be a little cautious, but we're loosening things up a little bit so that we can get some information to Carolyn and she can get back to you with her answers. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Great, great work, Carolyn. And thank you for all you do, body, mind, and spirit, to help everyone you help all over the world.
Thank you, Ginny. You were a star today. I appreciate you so much. And thank you, Chad. Chad is awesome.
Yes, Chadley. He never gets any credit. We should say, yay,
Chad. Absolutely. So thanks, everybody. We're all a team. We're all working together.
That's right. All right, you guys have a good weekend. Thanks, Carolyn. Thanks, Chad.